Hey, what do we have here? Another QD-OLED, ASUS ROG Swift QD-OLED PG32UCDM. This came with more things than any of the other QD-OLED displays in the box, and stickers even. It does have an external power brick, but the stand is robust and very well made. And I love that this thing has plastic cling all over everything, including the screen, so you won't get any micro scratches. And as soon as you get this thing set up, you're going to be absolutely blown away because these specs are amazing. It has a custom heatsink, 99% DCI-P3, ultra low input lag, 0.003 millisecond response time, gray to gray. And man, Dolby Vision is coming even in a firmware update. And ports, you have all the ports you need: DisplayPort, HDMI 2.1. And when you fire this thing up with the games that really will display and showcase the quality of the display, you're going to be blown away. And in this case, Horizon Forbidden West, in this red deserty section here, the color is spot on and there's no oversaturation. It just looks good right out of the box. This is just me playing and hooking it up directly to my PC. I did not take any time to go into any settings or change anything other than turning on HDR. You're going to be blown away, and those peak 1000 HDR highlights are going to be super bright on this display. They're a little bit brighter than the other two displays I reviewed that are also QD-OLED with the same panel. The OSD is super easy to navigate. No issues there, and all the cutscenes in this game just absolutely look phenomenal. So I was really just super excited to get this game fired up on this display. One thing to note is the firmware update. I tried to do a firmware update on this and it failed. It failed a couple times. It took me like 3 times to get the firmware update to go through. That is one thing to note. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Aesthetically, man, that red glow reminds me of my old school 3rd gen iPod Classic. But look at this, man. Like, I'm just blown away by how accurate the colors are. And when you pair this up with a RTX 4080 Super, for example, or a 4090, you're going to get really fluid frame rates, especially when you have DLSS enabled on your graphics card through the NVIDIA drivers. And that's going to just allow you to play this game with the highest settings and allow the motion to be as fluid as possible, so you're able to just enjoy the content and the storyline of the game without any flickering or stuttering. I did not notice any flickering or stuttering at all with this monitor. In fact, I felt like it was somehow the smoothest display of the 3. I think it's essentially the same as the Dell Alienware version of this display in terms of image quality, but as you can see, when you zoom in on, like, Aloy's face here is just crystal clear on this display. It's like a whole another world of display quality. The visuals are just jaw-dropping when you see this scene here. There is so much contrast going on at this scene when the water dissipates out of the way and you're able to see these super bright neon-like glowing holographic forms surrounding Aloy as she walks through this section of the game. This is where this kind of display technology shines. When you're able to see ultra saturation but it's not blown out, you're able to enjoy the content as the game designers intended it to be. And man, if I was a game designer right now, I would be absolutely floored by the quality of how your game looks after you've finished this game design. I mean, look at how good that looks when you're playing this game. The punchiness of the reds is really noticeable. It looks absolutely accurate. There is no white subpixel in this panel, so you're going to get the true intended color reproduction of what the game designer intended here. Some of these studios, they spend a lot of time making sure a game like this is going to look its absolute best, no matter if it's played on a PlayStation or a PC. And in this case, the port process of getting this transferred from PlayStation over to PC went really well in my opinion, especially during a cutscene like this where you've got the most intense scene, a beast of a machine, really trying to focus in on defeating this thing. The fact that you can have the most fluid frames in the game and not worry about anything happening that's gonna distract you or the screen going black. In my case here, this monitor performed perfectly in the most toughest graphic sequences. Something to note is like on the MSI QD-OLED display that I reviewed, I did have some issues where the screen would go black. In terms of industrial design, I wasn't sure if I would like the chin on the bottom of this display, but it's actually not that bad. And as you can see on the back, it's got this really cool pixelated design with the RGB flowing through. And I really like this kind of sophisticated matte black slash kind of dark gray thing going on here. It looks pretty gamerish, but it's kind of subtle at the same time. And the adjustability is not bad. The swivel stand seems a little stiff when you're trying to tilt it, but I just wanted to note that. In terms of graphic design and using this display with a Mac computer, man, what's cool is this has 90 watts of power delivery, which is fantastic. Out of the box, honestly, if you set this up out of the box, it's going to have really great color accuracy. For my Mac, when I plugged it into USB-C, I did notice that the refresh rate topped out at 120 Hertz via USB-C. So that is something to note. Not a huge deal because when I'm using this on my Mac, I'm not worried about pushing this to 240 Hertz. 120 Hertz is plenty for content creation, graphic design, photography. I'm not worried about that because most of the displays for Mac actually top out at 60 Hertz, like the Apple Studio display. And compared to that, the Apple Studio display is awesome, but this is just on a whole other level of quality. And it does have a calibration report in the OSD that you can pull up, and this one was calibrated really well out of the box via sRGB, but I love that I can dial in the RGB even more and then actually calibrate this pretty much perfectly for DCI-P3 and all the content that I'm going to be creating. This was one of the most accurate monitors I've ever calibrated. The calibration that I came out with at the end of this process was phenomenal. So then when I'm looking at all of this dynamic, fluid graphic design content, it looks spectacular. All the color gamut is being covered here on all the different gradient levels. I'm not seeing loss of color in anything, in any designs I've ever reviewed or things that I've looked at previously. The color quality and fidelity is absolutely jaw-dropping. It's really refreshing to see so much quality built into one display. The fact that I can use this on my Mac and a PC at the same time, since it does have that built-in KVM switch, is absolutely awesome. It does have that 90 watts of power delivery, like I said, to your Mac. The one thing to note is when you drop it to 90 watts of power delivery in the settings, it does tell you that you can only max the brightness out to 65. So that is something to keep in mind. I think it's doing a power saving feature there with the USB-C port. So yeah, photography, graphic design, all the things that we do as content creators, you're going to be blown away by using this display. Pixel density is phenomenal. Man, just clarity is spectacular for text. There is one huge flaw though with this display. Despite all of these specs, despite everything that I've just said, there is a huge flaw, and that is the ASUS warranty. Apparently is not the greatest, and even when I'm clicking on the 3-year warranty info on their website, I don't know what that is, but I'm not even able to pull up the information, and that is due to the fact that Gamers Nexus revealed that ASUS has the most terrible warranty practices. Well, there you have it. We finally have a display that is at the very peak of performance. It does all the things that you would ever want in a display. It checks all the boxes. Biggest drawback to this display is actually ASUS's terrible warranty practices as revealed by the Gamers Nexus video. Does that mean I'm going to return this display? In my case, I may end up keeping it because I was able to buy this locally at a micro center, and I'm able to add the warranty locally there, so then if I have any issues I can just bring it right back to the store. If you don't have a Best Buy or micro center near you and you're able to purchase this online and something happens with either the firmware messing up or you have issues with the panel or anything else, I'd be really worried about what would happen when you send this display to ASUS to get repaired. And that, unfortunately, is a huge deal breaker and may be a reason for you to consider other monitors like the Alienware version, which has the best warranty I've ever seen from Dell. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of this video. I appreciate each and every one of you coming by today to check out this awesome display from ASUS. When you have a moment, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up if you liked today's content, and ring that bell to get notified when I drop new content, and I will see every one of you on my next video.